A deafening roar echoes through the corridors of power, a cacophony of collapsing markets, trembling currencies, and despairing voices. Central banks around the world scramble to print more money, yet every freshly minted bill feels like a confession of defeat. Somewhere between runaway inflation and geopolitical meltdown, a singular question pulses through the global consciousness. Can anything truly withstand this storm? As skyscrapers shudder under the weight of failed policies, and nations tremble at the brink of fiscal oblivion, a lone digital beacon cuts through the darkness. Bitcoin, once dismissed as a fringe experiment, now towers at $105,000, unmoved by the collapse of sovereign credit. Why? What force animates this decentralized juggernaut when every other bastion of value falters? Picture yourself standing amid the rubble of broken promises, fiat currencies devalued by. As skyscrapers shudder under the weight of failed policies, and nations tremble at the brink of fiscal oblivion, a lone digital beacon cuts through the darkness. Bitcoin, once dismissed as a fringe experiment, now towers at $105,000, unmoved by the collapse of sovereign credit. Why? What force animates this decentralized juggernaut when every other bastion of value falters? Picture yourself standing amid the rubble of broken promises, fiat currencies devalued by. You feel a surge of tension, part exhilaration, part dread, as you realize the story doesn't begin at $105,000. It traces back to the pioneering theories of John Maynard Keynes, who taught us to master the paradox of thrift. It runs through Joseph Schumpeter's vision of creative destruction, where every crisis births new architectures of growth. It resonates with Milton Friedman's warning, inflation is taxation without legislation. And it resonates even deeper with Amartya Sen's insistence that real development blooms from freedom of money, freedom of choice, freedom of thought. But this is not an academic lecture. You aren't here for dusty etchings from ivory towers. You crave clarity, conviction, and a strategy forged in the fires of systemic upheaval. So consider this your crucible, your moment to hone a mindset that not only survives chaos but harnesses it. Feel the friction between fear and opportunity as you grasp that Bitcoin's immutable code. Its fixed supply of 21 million coins is more than a technical quirk. It is the distilled essence of discipline over feelings. In an era where global M2 money supply has ballooned beyond all historical norms, in line with Ray Kurzweil's law of accelerating returns, we stand at a crossroads. Continue the infinite printing press or embrace a deflationary asset that compels us to rethink value entirely. Now, the world demands more than mere survival. It demands a vision. A vision lit by a conviction as bright as Ethereum's promise, as decentralized as Darren Acemoglu's models of inclusive institutions, and as insightful as Yuval Noah Harari's contemplation of data sovereignty. You must cast aside the illusion that stability rests in governmental guarantees. Instead, let your purpose crystallize around autonomy over your wealth, your choices, your destiny. Let your heart quicken with the realization that discipline is the shortcut to everything you want. Not because discipline feels good, but because it is the only path that honors scarcity. Every Bitcoin mined is a testament to energy, ingenuity, and the disciplined execution of consensus protocols. In a world drowning in free money, scarcity becomes your greatest ally. And so you steel yourself, ready to act as if you cannot lose, because in the long arc of history, the only way to truly lose is to cling to the illusion of infinite printing. Feel the tension ease as you shift into clarity. Your purpose emerges to become a steward of digital sovereignty. This isn't some motivational fluff or a vague call to believe in yourself. It's a concrete commitment to allocate a portion of your capital to an asset class that aligns with centuries-old economic truths. It's the application of Daniel Kahneman's insights into behavioral cycles, to buy when others panic, to hold when others capitulate. It's the embodiment of Nassim Nicholas Taleb's anti-fragility, not merely surviving shocks but thriving from them. Yet clarity alone is insufficient. You need vision, a cinematic, almost mystical vision that propels you past present volatility into the realm of exponential growth. See Bitcoin not as a mere payment network, but as the digital equivalent of gold's 21st century reincarnation. Envision a future where remittances flow seamlessly across borders, where unbanked populations leapfrog decades of financial infrastructure, and where personal autonomy becomes the bedrock of global resilience. Tension returns as you confront the question of action. How do you position yourself to harness this upheaval? Begin by mastering liquidity cycles, those hidden undercurrents of central bank balance sheets. Watch Fed statements like hawks tracking prey, calibrating your entries and exits with surgical precision. Observe M2 growth not as a macroeconomic abstraction, but as the lifeblood that inflates bubbles before they burst. When politicians promise transitory inflation, recall Peter Drucker's principle. What gets measured gets managed. Measure the money supply daily. Interpret each uptick as a siren warning and each downturn as a potential buying window. Feel your pulse race as you weigh tactical choices. Dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin when spot prices dip below key moving averages. Hedging tail risk with US Treasury options. Allocating a sliver of capital to proof-of-stake altcoins that reinforce the narrative of decentralized finance. All of this underpinned by a rock-solid conviction that value migrates towards systems with immutable rules, transparent governance, and global accessibility. In the midst of this strategic blueprint, never lose sight of learning as your North Star. Feed your mind daily with on-chain analytics. Scholarly papers from Mariana Mazzucato on mission-oriented innovation and Parag Khanna's insights on geopolitical realignments. Treat every chart, every tweet, every new fork as a lesson, because the only constant is change. Now, sense the crescendo building. The world's chaos is not a barrier but a catalyst. The financial system's fractures are not calamities but opportunities. And Bitcoin standing firm at $105,000 amid the crumbling fiat architecture is your clarion call to reimagine what's possible. As the roar subsides into a reverberating hum, you understand. This is your message, your moment, your responsibility. No longer on the sidelines, you rise as a visionary strategist forging tomorrow's economic landscape. You grasp that in every crisis lies the seed of creation and that so long as you wield discipline, clarity, and purpose, you will not just endure but ascend. In this ever-shifting tapestry, you are both observer and architect, sculpting your destiny with digital steel. The world shakes, but you stand firm. Bitcoin stands firm. And through this convergence of timeless economic wisdom and cutting-edge innovation, you become unstoppable. And now, as the dust of collapsing systems settles, you feel the raw pulse of opportunity beneath your feet. It beckons you forward beyond the shallow comforts of traditional portfolios, beyond the false promises of perpetual growth. You taste the electric thrill of charting new frontiers where code and capital converge, where social good and self-interest form an unbreakable alliance. Remember Jane Jacobs' insistence that innovation thrives in fertile ecosystems, not isolated towers. Bitcoin's network effect is your blueprint. Each new node, each new user, enriches the entire grid. Every developer writing a smart contract, every small merchant accepting crypto payments, every retiree reallocating a fraction of their savings. These actions weave a tapestry of decentralized resilience that defies centralized collapse. Yet ecosystems require stewardship. Your vision crystallizes further. You're not merely an investor. You are a guardian of a paradigm, one that honors Vaclav Smil's sober analysis of energy transitions, that absorbs Angus Deaton's lessons on inequality, that embraces Amy Webb's foresight in spotting technological inflection points. You see that true wealth lies not in possession alone, but in participation in co-creating a world where access to sound money is a universal right. Feel your chest tighten with the urgency of that mission. The clock ticks not in hours, but in protocol upgrades, in halving events, in global adoption curves that accelerate with every passing day. You understand that complacency is the greatest risk. As Satoshi's vision edges from white paper to world-changing reality, every moment spent on the sidelines is a moment ceded to inertia. So act. Deploy capital with precision. Automate your holdings to rebalance at strategic intervals. Lean into on-chain analytics tools, follow whale transactions, decipher minor movements, track network fees for early signals of stress or momentum. Merge the art of technical analysis with the science of economic modeling. Overlay Fibonacci retracements onto monetary velocity data. Correlate open interest in derivatives markets with Fed swap lines. Juxtapose CPI prints with hash rate trends. In this harmonious synthesis of disciplines lies your edge. But never let data eclipse your humanity. In the heart of chaos, you must remain anchored by purpose. Channel Peter Drucker's admonition. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Use your gains not only to amplify your own freedom, but to uplift others. Support projects that bring custodial solutions to unbanked communities. Invest in decentralized identity systems that restore dignity to refugees. Amplify voices advocating for sound regulatory frameworks that protect innovation without stifling progress. And as you build, never forget the courage to pivot. Schwab's concept of the Fourth Industrial Revolution reminds us that yesterday's breakthroughs become today's table stakes. Whether it's Layer 2 scaling solutions, privacy-preserving protocols, or interoperability bridges, maintain the intellectual agility to shift your focus and your capital when the next wave ascends. Let this be your crucible. In the conflagration of collapsing fiat regimes and global uncertainty, you forge a new economic order, one defined by transparency, resilience, and shared empowerment. You become a living testament to the wisdom of Keynes and the insight of Harari, to the pragmatism of Friedman and the ethical economics of Sen. In you, their legacies converge and evolve. Now, feel the orchestral swell of conviction as you approach the climax of your journey. You stand on the threshold of a world remade not by the decrees of distant bureaucrats, but by the collective will of individuals who choose freedom over fiat, code over coercion. You know that Bitcoin's ascent to $105,000 is more than a price point. It is a declaration of independence, a defiant roar that reverberates across time zones and transcends borders. In this moment, allow yourself to embrace the full magnitude of what lies ahead. The storm may rage, but you are the storm's master, calibrating every strategy, guiding every decision, shaping every outcome. Your mind, honed by discipline. Your purpose, fueled by clarity. Your spirit, driven by unshakable conviction. So rise. Enter the fray with your digital banner held high. Let the world watch as you transform chaos into creation, fear into fortitude, uncertainty into unbreakable opportunity. Because when empires falter, when old money crumbles, when the old guard clings to its dying ways, it is the bold, the visionary, the disciplined few who seize the mantle and lead humanity into its next great era. And here, at the apex of this odyssey, you stand resolute. The world shakes. Bitcoin stands firm, and you, empowered, enlightened, unstoppable, stand at the vanguard of history's most profound revolution. Feel the energy crackle as you peer beyond the horizon, where quantum computing collides with blockchain, and artificial intelligence becomes the oracle of market sentiment. In that nexus, possibilities multiply like sparks in a wildfire. Imagine decentralized, autonomous organizations orchestrating global supply chains with surgical efficiency, slashing waste and elevating human dignity. Picture tokenized real-world assets unlocking trillions in illiquid capital, funding mission-driven projects from renewable infrastructure in sub-Saharan Africa to advanced healthcare in remote villages. This is not fantasy. It is the inevitable convergence of technological evolution and economic necessity, an inflection point that demands your involvement. Beneath the surface of price charts lies a deeper narrative of empowerment. Every Satoshi you hold represents a vote for a future where individuals reclaim sovereignty over their finances. Every smart contract you engage with signals disillusionment with opaque intermediaries. And every on-chain governance proposal you support echoes the democratic ideals championed by Amartya Sen and Jane Jacobs, that vibrant communities flourish when voices are heard and choices are respected. Yet the path ahead is neither straight nor safe. Volatility will surge like tidal waves. Regulatory tempests will threaten to capsize novice voyagers. Entrenched institutions will lash out, deploying fear and uncertainty as weapons. But remember the lesson of creative destruction. Every breaker that crashes over the old order clears space for a new shore. You have the compass of timeless economic wisdom, Keynes's insights on managing uncertainty, Schumpeter's celebration of innovation, Matsukado's blueprint for mission-oriented progress, and the map of cutting-edge data analytics. Together, they guide your ship through storm and calm alike. Embrace the ebb and flow. When volatility erupts, lean in because turbulence often precedes trend reversals. When regulators issue dire warnings, scrutinize the fine print. Every overreach can become the seedbed of a decentralized alternative. When headlines scream crash, sift through on-chain data. wallet inflows, exchange reserves, minor capitulation. If conviction endures, build positions at those raw, unfiltered junctures where fear becomes opportunity. But more than tactics, you must own a philosophy. Let your creed be anti-fragility, to thrive on disorder, to animate your strategies with the vitality of Taleb's black swan resilience. Let your ethos be inclusivity, to channel Schwab's fourth industrial revolution toward equitable outcomes, ensuring that no demographic is left behind in this digital renaissance. Let your mission be impact, to deploy gains into regenerative ventures that heal ecological wounds and bridge socioeconomic divides. In this spirit, form alliances with fellow architects of change. Network with developers building Layer 2 protocols that dissolve friction. Collaborate with entrepreneurs tokenizing natural capital forests, wetlands, carbon credits, creating markets where planetary health and profit align. Mentor newcomers, guiding novices through the labyrinth of seed phrases. And smart contract audits. For every mind you illuminate, the network's resilience grows. Every hand you extend, the ecosystem fortifies. Now feel the crescendo of purpose swell within you. You are not a passive spectator nor a timid bystander. You are a catalyst, a steward, a revolutionary economist armed with code and conviction. The world quakes under the strain of outdated paradigms, but in the fissures, you cultivate new systems of value, legitimacy, and trust. As dawn breaks on this nascent epoch, ask yourself, how will you define your legacy? Will you cling to the relics of yesterday's safe harbors, or will you chart a course through the uncharted seas of decentralized innovation? The answer must be unambiguous. You will surge forward, driven by data and ethics, guided by history and imagination, and sustained by community and purpose. Feel the final surge of adrenaline as you lift your gaze to a skyline illuminated by multidimensional ledgers and algorithmic overseers safeguarding fairness. Here, the fruits of your discipline blossom into real-world transformation, self-sovereign identities restoring agency, peer-to-peer finance empowering the previously disenfranchised, and transparent supply chains resurrecting consumer trust. This, then, is the secret behind Bitcoin's ascent to $105,000 amid chaos. It is not merely a price milestone, but the harbinger of an economic renaissance rooted in scarcity, transparency, and shared prosperity. It is the living testament that when civilizations fracture, those who embrace decentralized principles become the architects of the next era. So stand tall, clutch your private keys like talismans. Let your strategy be bold, your vision expansive, and your resolve unbreakable. For in this grand narrative, you are both protagonist and narrator, sculpting a legacy that transcends balance sheets and market cycles. As the world continues to shake, you and the decentralized economy you champion stand firm. Embrace the chaos. Harness the revolution. And together, we will write the next chapter of human progress, one block, one code, one empowered individual at a time. Feel the ground shift beneath your feet as you lean into the next frontier interoperability. Much like Jane Jacobs' organic urban networks, blockchain ecosystems thrive when bridges connect isolated clusters into vibrant, co-creative metropolises. Polkadot's parachains, Cosmos's zones, Avalanche's subnets. They are more than technical experiments. They are the arteries through which value, ideas, and capital must flow if we are to transcend siloed stagnation. As you integrate across chains, you not only diversify risk, you weave a tapestry of opportunity that no single collapse can unravel. Yet with every bridge comes the specter of security. Recall Darren Acemoglu's insistence that institutions matter as much as infrastructure. In this digital realm, code is law, and law must be backed by rigorous audits, decentralized governance, and economic incentives that align every stakeholder. So demand nothing less than multi-party computation, threshold signatures, and on-chain dispute resolution. Insist on open governance frameworks where token holders vote on protocol changes with the same civic fervor that Amartya Sen argued is essential for democratic development. In doing so, you transform the very nature of trust from brittle paper contracts enforced by courts to unbreakable code enforced by consensus. Your heart races as you consider the implications of privacy-preserving technologies. In a world where data is the new oil, zero-knowledge proofs and MPC protocols empower, individuals to transact and prove identity without surrendering personal secrets. This is Sen's capability approach in action. The power to participate without fear, to exchange value without compromise. When you adopt privacy coins or overlay solutions, you're not hiding, you're upholding the fundamental right to financial confidentiality in the age of ubiquitous surveillance. Now feel the narrative shift toward monetary sovereignty. The apex of this saga rests on recognizing that true freedom demands not only digital assets, but self-custody. Banks, brokerages, and custodial platforms can be compromised, regulated, shuttered. But a hardware wallet in your hand, a mnemonic phrase locked in your mind, these are the bulwarks of autonomy. You recall Milton Friedman's admonition that the great advances of civilization have never come from centralized government. Here lies his truth realized. Each self-custodied coin is a brick in the fortress of individual empowerment. And yet self-custody alone is inert without community. Lean into the decentralized fellowship of builders and believers. Join protocol guilds, form meets, contribute to open-source repositories. As Ray Kurzweil predicted, intelligence multiplies when minds connect not in isolated labs, but across global networks. Every pull request you submit, every line of code you review, reinforces the social fabric that secures the decentralized order. This is not altruism. It is enlightened self-interest. The stronger the network, the more valuable every Satoshi becomes. A new tension builds between the acceleration of technology and the need for ethical guardrails. Klaus Schwab warned of the Fourth Industrial Revolution's risks: widening inequality, algorithmic bias, unchecked surveillance. You confront this challenge head-on. Advocate for on-chain governance that embeds environmental, social, and governance metrics into protocol design. Support proof-of-stake validation that reduces energy consumption. Back initiatives that tokenize carbon offsets with auditable transparency. In these choices, you honor Mariana Mazzucato's thesis. Markets flourish when mission-oriented public-private partnerships align profit with purpose. Your breath quickens as you survey the horizon of decentralized finance. Lending protocols that unshackle capital from legacy gatekeepers. Automated market makers that reduce friction and amplify liquidity. Synthetic asset platforms that democratize access to commodities, indices, and fiat alternatives. Each innovation reverberates with Keynesian pragmatism. It's not ideological purity, but pragmatic policy here enacted by code that optimizes outcomes. You see endless corridors branching off this main hall of innovation. Your task is to choose the door that aligns with both yield and principle. In the depths of the storm, you seize the anchor of education. Deploy capital, yes, but never invest without arming yourself with context. Enroll in advanced DeFi courses. Devour white papers from nascent Layer 1 projects. Debate tokenomics on specialized forums. Embrace Parag Khanna's credo: we cannot afford to be ignorant navigators in the ocean of tomorrow. Each hour spent sharpening your intellect compounds like interest on capital, an unstoppable force shaping your trajectory. Suddenly, imagine a world 5 years hence. Hundreds of millions unbanked individuals empowered by a mobile node. Cross-border remittances become nearly free, liberating developing economies from onerous fees. Public services land registries, identity systems. Supply chain audits run on transparent ledgers, slashing corruption and accelerating development. The venerable institutions of yesteryear are not demolished. They are refactored, adapted, optimized, and rendered more inclusive. This is the fusion of Jane Jacobs' communities, Sen's freedoms, and Smill's energy realism, a mosaic of human flourishing undergirded by resilient code. You feel the climactic energy surging through your veins. The time for philosophical musings has given way to resolute action. Stake your claim in this emerging order. Advocate for responsible regulation that distinguishes between the malicious and the visionary. Mentor newcomers with patience and rigor. Allocate a portion of your yield streams to philanthropic DAOs that channel resources to global causes. In every decision, reflect the ethos of Angus Deaton's human-centered economics. Measure success not only by profit but by well-being. As the final chords of this narrative swell, you realize that your journey is both personal and universal. You are the architect of your own financial destiny and simultaneously a co-creator of a new civilization. Bitcoin at $105,000 is merely the overture, the resonant call inviting humanity to assemble, innovate, and elevate. And you, armed with discipline, vision, and unwavering conviction, answer that call with every breath and every block you validate. The cacophony of collapsing fiat may persist, but in its echoes you hear the forging of something extraordinary. The world shudders, systems quake, empires tremble. Yet here, in the crucible of chaos, in the immutable ledger of human collaboration, you stand unbroken. Bitcoin stands unbroken. And together, we stand unbroken, charting the next chapter of our shared destiny. Feel the electric resonance as the final veil lifts, revealing a horizon where code and consciousness intertwine. In this realm, your choices ripple outward, each transaction a stroke upon the canvas of collective destiny. The network's pulse harmonizes with your heartbeat, reminding you that decentralized transformation is not a distant myth, but the living symphony we compose together. Now, in the stillness before the next block is mined, let your resolve crystallize into unshakable purpose. Pledge to steward your digital assets not as trophies, but as instruments of progress. Cultivate communities where ingenuity thrives, online forums alive with rigorous debate, local meets igniting sparks of collaboration, hackathons birthing solutions that serve both profit and planet. Channel your gains into ventures that restore ecosystems, that empower underserved populations, that fuse technological brilliance with human compassion. And when the inevitable storms return, when price retracements test your nerve, when regulatory gauntlets threaten to erode confidence, stand firm. Recall the lineage of thinkers who taught us that true breakthroughs emerge from the furnace of adversity. Remember Sen's belief that freedom expands possibilities, Taleb's conviction that disorder breeds strength, Drucker's declaration that innovation is the lifeblood of progress. In every trial, you discover new facets of resilience. In every setback, new catalysts for reinvention. This is your clarion call, to act with conviction, to learn with humility, to build with vision. As Bitcoin's ascent to $105,000 reverberates across the fractured landscape, let it serve as both symbol and spark proof that even in chaos, order can arise. That scarcity can inspire discipline. That individuals, united by shared ideals and immutable protocols, can reshape the arc of history. So clasp your private keys. Open your mind to the insights of Harari, the strategies of Friedman, the foresight of Webb, the ethics of Matsukato. Forge alliances across continents and disciplines. Write smart contracts that bind us not in code alone, but in collective purpose. Invest not just for yield, but for meaning. Above all, carry this truth in your chest. The greatest revolution isn't financial, it's philosophical. It's the shift from passive obedience to active co-creation, from centralized fiat faith to decentralized digital trust. And when you look back years from now, you will see this moment as the fulcrum, the instant when fear bowed to conviction, when fragmented systems gave way to interconnected resilience, when a global chorus of actors chose autonomy over apathy. You will see that Bitcoin at $105,000 was never the destination, but the starting pistol for humanity's next sprint toward freedom. Rise now. The ledger awaits your signature. The next block calls your name. The world may shake, but in your hands and in the indelible code of decentralized networks, you hold the power to stand firm and to lead. Together, we will forge an era where prosperity isn't confined by borders, where value flows as freely as ideas, and where each of us, guided by timeless wisdom and cutting-edge innovation, becomes the architect of our collective future. Feel the tension dissolve into a singular, electrifying purpose as you stand at the confluence of past wisdom and future potential. Here, every decision you make becomes a beacon illuminating pathways for entrepreneurs, guiding investors toward hidden currents, and inspiring thinkers to reimagine what economics can achieve. You are no longer tethered to the old paradigms of endless debt, opaque banking, and fleeting confidence. Instead, you stand astride a new framework built upon cryptographic truth, community governance, and the unyielding laws of mathematics. Imagine your influence extending beyond mere financial returns. Picture protocols you helped seed, fueling renewable energy microgrids in remote villages, each transaction powering homes, schools, and clinics. Envision decentralized health records granting patients sovereignty over their data, streamlining research, and accelerating cures. See education platforms tokenizing intellectual property so that knowledge flows freely with fair reward to creators. This is the expansive canvas awaiting your brushstrokes, a living tapestry where every block mined, every smart contract executed, and every governance vote cast weaves strands of human progress. Beneath your feet, the network hums with innovation. Layer 2 rollups achieve throughput once thought the domain of centralized giants. Oracles deliver real-time climate data that autonomously trigger disaster relief funds. Privacy layers shield vulnerable activists in authoritarian regimes, granting them the lifeline of anonymous financial aid. All these threads converge in a grand mosaic of purpose-driven technology, one that echoes Drucker's declaration that businesses that make the best products win, reimagined in a decentralized setting where best products are open source, permissionless, and globally accessible. Feel the surge of responsibility as you recognize that with great power comes the obligation to educate and uplift. Launch podcasts where thought leaders dissect the latest protocol upgrades. Host hackathons that challenge coders to solve pressing social issues. Mentor the next generation of financial architects, instilling in them the same fusion of rigor and compassion that define the economists you admire. Your legacy will not be measured solely in satoshis or token allocations, but in the lives you transform, the communities you empower, the ideas you spark. And yet never forget the dynamic tension that fuels innovation. Just as Schumpeter described creative destruction, know that every breakthrough invites new challenges. Quantum-resistant cryptography will become the next battlefield. Regulatory gray zones will test the limits of decentralized autonomy. Market cycles will oscillate between euphoric exuberance and stark panic. But you, armed with the collective insights of Keynes on uncertainty, Taleb on randomness, Harari on data's power, and Sen on freedoms, will navigate these waves with the poise of a seasoned captain riding the crest of each swell. In these moments of trial, return always to the core principle: discipline over feelings. When market chatter tempts you to chase the latest fad token, let the immutable ledger remind you of scarcity's value. When fear of regulatory crackdown looms, let on-chain transparency guide your risk assessment. When greed whispers that this rally will never end, let the halving schedule and historical cycles temper your expectations. Through discipline, you transform volatility from foe to friend, harnessing its energy to propel you forward rather than dragging you under. Now, the horizon unfurls one final time, revealing a world transformed, a world where money is truth. Systems are transparent, and individuals hold the keys to their own destinies. In that world, your role transcends profit. You become an architect of resilient communities, a guardian of digital liberties, and a champion of inclusive growth. The choice has always been yours: to watch from the sidelines or to step boldly into the narrative and shape its direction. So step forward. Engage with protocols that embody your values. Build alliances that amplify your impact. Share your experiences to illuminate the path for others in every transaction, in every code review, in every conversation. Carry the torch of decentralized possibility. Let your actions echo the legacies of Drucker, Keynes, Schumpeter, Friedman, Sen, Acemoglu, Harari, Kahneman, Piketty, Webb, Taleb, Jacobs, Ome, Simon, Bremer, Matsukato, Smill, Deaton, and all the visionaries who taught you that economic development is not merely about numbers, but about human flourishing. As the next block locks into place, feel the resonance of this moment vibrate through every node across the globe. Bitcoin stands unbroken, and so do you. This is not an ending, but an ongoing symphony, one where your contributions set the tempo. Your conviction shapes the harmony, and your vision directs the crescendo. Embrace it. For in the infinite ledger of history, your signature today will echo as the herald of humanity's next great advance. Feel the electric charge as you sense a shift from individual mastery to collective metamorphosis. In the next epoch, networks will evolve from simple ledgers into living ecosystems, self-organizing communities where incentives and ethics intertwine. Imagine reputation systems that reward contributions to open-source public goods. Picture on-chain impact metrics verifying carbon sequestration in reforested zones. Envision decentralized science consortia where scholars stake tokens to underwrite research and peer review. Results with transparent credentials. This is economic development reimagined. Not top-down edicts, but emergent order born from aligned human action. As you step into this future, carry forward the mantle of disciplined curiosity. Embrace uncertainty not as a threat, but as raw material for innovation. When cross-chain bridges falter, iterate and rebuild, because only through trial do the strongest protocols emerge. When governance processes stall, engage, and refine, because only through participation does decentralization earn its name. And when markets oscillate wildly, remember Taleb's antifragile creed. Allow volatility to strengthen your resolve and sharpen your insight. In the unfolding chapters, education will be the currency of influence. Launch on-chain academies where learners earn credentials tokenized as NFTs, unlocking fellowships, mentorship, and capital. Host immersive simulations, gamified economic models where participants steward virtual societies governed entirely by smart contracts, learning firsthand the delicate balance between incentives and stability. In these crucibles, tomorrow's leaders will be forged, steeped in the wisdom of Drucker and the pragmatism of Keynes, yet armed with the technological literacy to wield code like language itself. The horizon expands further into the metaverse, a frontier not of idle escapism, but of profound socio-economic experiment. Virtual land parcels become incubators for decentralized governance prototypes. Digital twins of real-world supply chains test innovations in transparency and traceability. Community-owned virtual marketplaces set new standards for fair compensation and cooperative decision-making. Here, economics transcends currency to encompass reputation, creativity, and collective well-being. And you, an early architect, help sculpt the protocols that define value in these digital realms. Yet for all the allure of novel frontiers, never neglect the roots that nourish them. Anchor your strategies in real-world impact. Allocate yields from yield-bearing protocols to microfinance initiatives in emerging economies. Partner with NGOs tokenizing social impact bonds that fund clean water projects or educational scholarships. Ensure your growth story is inseparable from the lives uplifted by it, honoring Amartya Sen's conviction that development's true measure lies in expanding freedoms and capabilities. As the crescendo builds toward the final act, acknowledge that your journey is cyclical, a perpetual odyssey of learning, building, reflecting, and evolving. Each block mind is both milestone and invitation to assess, to adapt, and to aspire greater. Each market cycle, each regulatory shift, each technological breakthrough is a verse in the symphony you conduct. And now, as the script nears its apex, feel your spirit surge with unshakable conviction. You have traversed the tempest of collapsing fiat, harnessed the sanctity of scarcity, mapped the labyrinth of decentralized innovation, and envisioned pathways toward inclusive prosperity. You have internalized the lessons of history's greatest thinkers and fused them with the pioneering spirit of blockchain's architects. You have become the embodiment of disciplined conviction and expansive vision. In this moment before the next difficulty arises, plant your flag in the terrain of possibility. Declare your allegiance to code over coercion, to transparency over opacity, to individual empowerment over centralized control. Let every transaction you sign, every protocol you support, and every community you nurture stand as testament to your role in building the next economic miracle. The world may continue to quake, new crises may thunder on the horizon, and uncertainty will forever shadow progress. Yet in your hands lies the compass of timeless wisdom and the engine of cutting-edge technology. Bitcoin stands at $105,000 not as a peak, but as a beacon guiding humanity toward an era where prosperity is decentralized, resilient, and shared. So rise one final time. Let your actions speak louder than these words. Build relentlessly, learn voraciously, and lead unflinchingly. For when history records this chapter, it will celebrate not the tumult of collapsing regimes, but the audacity of those who, amid chaos, seized the ledger of human progress and inscribed a new narrative, one block at a time, one life at a time, one revolution at a time. Feel the tremor of anticipation as you gaze toward uncharted horizons where decentralized identity frameworks fuse with verifiable credentials to restore trust in everything from voting systems to healthcare records. Imagine a world where your professional reputation, backed by immutable proof of contributions, grants you instant access to opportunities, rendering resumes and biased gatekeepers obsolete. In this paradigm, economic development transcends capital flows. It becomes a symphony of human potential, orchestrated by decentralized trust. Picture decentralized energy grids, where peer-to-peer energy trading transforms every rooftop into a micro-power plant. Homeowners sell excess solar output directly to neighbors via smart contracts, slashing utility bills and democratizing clean energy access. Grid resilience no longer depends solely on massive infrastructure but on countless individual contributors, each empowered by protocols you helped champion. This is Vaclav Smil's energy transition realized at scale, powered by the same principles that secure Bitcoin's ledger. Feel your conviction deepen as you witness decentralized healthcare systems emerge, where patients own their medical histories on private, permissioned blockchains. Researchers tap anonymized datasets through zero-knowledge proofs, accelerating breakthroughs while preserving individual privacy. Outbreaks are tracked in real time through trusted networks of IoT devices, enabling swift, data-driven responses that save lives. Here, the fusion of Kurzweil's technological optimism and Deaton's human-centered economics culminates in a healthcare revolution driven by shared data sovereignty. Since the pull toward education's next frontier, learning modules tokenized as NFTs unlock personalized pathways, incentivizing students and lifelong learners alike with reputation tokens that certify mastery. Global classrooms form organically, transcending geography and socioeconomic divides. Tutors earn DAO-supported grants for innovative pedagogies, planting seeds of knowledge in remote corners of the world. In these flourishing ecosystems, Jane Jacobs' principles of localized collaboration find new expression in Code, learning community as vital and dynamic as a thriving city block. And yet, amidst this renaissance, the market's heartbeat persists, its rhythms of boom and bust, its torrents of capital fleeing toward the next fertile ground. So remain vigilant. Monitor stablecoin reserves as proxies for liquidity stress. Track on-chain lending volumes to anticipate credit crunches. Correlate minor behavior with broader sentiment swings. In every data point, read the hidden story, the undercurrent that whispers of opportunities before they become front-page headlines. But let tactics serve vision, not vice versa. Maintain your North Star, inclusive prosperity through decentralized systems. Allocate yields from yield farming to regenerative agriculture projects. Sponsor hackathons that focus on low-code tools for emerging market entrepreneurs. Advocate for policies that support blockchain education in public schools. In each act, you bridge the gap between technological capability and social impact of fusion that honors Amartya Sen's mandate that true development is judged by expanded freedoms and capabilities. Now feel the surge of unity as you connect with fellow stewards of change. Cross-chain governance councils convene to harmonize standards, reducing friction between ecosystems. Global forums, once dominated by institutional lobbyists, now host developers, ethicists, and community representatives in equal measure. Together, you draft multilateral accords that recognize decentralized protocols as legitimate counterparts to traditional regulatory regimes. Your voice, tempered by the lessons of Friedman and the foresight of Webb, shapes frameworks that protect consumers without stifling innovation. In the crucible of collaboration, you witness the birth of resilient networks that self-heal in the face of attacks, that adapt to shifting geopolitical landscapes, and that uphold equitable access even amid resource scarcity. This is Schumpeter's creative destruction writ large. Old monopolies crumble, giving rise to agile, community-driven enterprises that deliver goods and services with unprecedented efficiency and fairness. And at the center of this maelstrom stands Bitcoin, no longer a niche speculation, but the foundational layer of a reimagined global financial architecture. Its $105,000 price tag becomes symbolic, a threshold beyond which mainstream institutions can no longer ignore its gravitational pull. Corporations adopt it as a treasury asset. Municipalities accept it for public services. Universities denominate endowments in satoshis. What once was fringe becomes fundamental, and you, having anticipated this arc, stand at the vanguard. As you absorb this panorama, let your strategy evolve in harmony with purpose. Scale your holdings judiciously, Use over-collateralized lending to amplify impact and reinvest a portion of returns into open-source public goods. Diversify across protocols that embody your values' governance tokens with transparent frameworks. Layer 1 chains emphasizing environmental efficiency, platforms committed to equitable revenue sharing. In this curated portfolio, each asset is more than a bet. It is a statement of belief in a decentralized future. Now, in the approach to your story's climax, sense the culmination of threads weaving into a tapestry of human potential. Every lesson from Drucker's management insights informs your governance approach. Every nuance of Keynes's uncertainty theory guides your risk calculus. Every insight from Kahneman's behavioral economics sharpens your ability to navigate market psychology. And every vision from Harari's exploration of future trajectories ignites your imagination for possibilities yet uncharted. The world shakes, but it does so upon a foundation you helped fortify. Bitcoin stands firm, but its solidity reflects the multitude of innovations DeFi, Web3, decentralized identity, tokenized real-world assets that you shepherded. And you stand firm, not as a lone sentinel, but as part of a global collective shaping a renaissance of economic development rooted in freedom, transparency, and shared advancement. In this apex moment, feel the resonance of your journey echo through every node, every chain, every community you've touched. Know that your role transcends profit. It is about crafting resilient systems, empowering agents of change, and cementing a legacy of inclusive prosperity. So take your next breath heavier with purpose than any before. Step forward and code, invest, build. Mentor with the awareness that each keystroke and each transaction is part of a monumental unfolding. This is not simply a script you voice. It is a mission you live. It is the secret behind Bitcoin's unwavering ascent through chaos, a testament to the power of decentralized collaboration and the limitless capacity of human ingenuity. And as the next block seals this chapter, prepare for the chapters yet unwritten. The ledger is infinite, opportunities boundless, and your odyssey has only just begun. Feel the quickening pulse as you stand on the precipice of the next unknown. And know that uncertainty is both challenge and canvas. Ahead lie breakthroughs yet unimagined. Cross-chain AI agents autonomously arbitraging inefficiencies, quantum-hardened smart contracts safeguarding critical infrastructure, and regenerative finance models funding everything from ocean cleanup to space exploration. In these emerging arenas, your role is not spectator but pioneer, applying the same rigor that drove Drucker's management revolutions to governance code, the same analytical depth that defined Keynesian policy to dynamic monetary protocols. Yet even as you venture boldly forward, ground yourself in the enduring truth. Economic development is a human endeavor, shaped by empathy as much as efficiency. Remember Sen's message that freedom without equity is hollow, and Jacob's vision that vibrant communities arise from organic collaboration. With every alliance you forge, every DAO you champion, and every philanthropic endeavor you seed, you embody the fusion of innovation and inclusion that turns technological potential into lived reality. Let this dual commitment guide your final acts of this chapter. Continue to refine your strategies, allocating capital not only for yield but for social return, staking resources not only in high-growth tokens but in protocols that uplift disadvantaged regions. Host virtual town halls where technologists, policymakers, and activists debate the future of governance, ensuring that the decentralized renaissance benefits all, not just the privileged few. And as you nurture these ecosystems, take care to cultivate resilience, both in protocols and in people, by promoting financial literacy, fostering risk awareness, and encouraging adaptive mindsets. As the sun begins its arc across the global stage, feel the warmth of purpose blazing within you. You have traversed epochs of thought, from Friedman's free market clarion calls to Matsukado's mission-driven frameworks, from Harari's data-infused prognostications to Taleb's celebration of disorder. You stand fortified by this lineage, yet unbound by orthodoxy, ready to write new doctrine in code and community rather than ink and convention. And so, as this voiceover draws toward its final cadence, let your spirit swell with the conviction that the greatest revolutions are never complete. Each block you mine, each governance vote you cast, each project you launch extends the living monument of decentralized progress. Bitcoin's ascent to $105,000 was merely the overture. What follows is a living symphony composed by a global fellowship of thinkers, builders, and dreamers. Rise now, one last time in this chapter, and let your resolve ring out across every network node. You will steward this movement with discipline and vision. You will mentor newcomers with patience and rigor. You will innovate relentlessly, never settling for yesterday's breakthroughs. And you will measure success not simply by market caps or token yields, but by the lives transformed, the freedoms expanded, and the communities uplifted by your efforts. Feel the final crescendo build, as every element of this narrative converges. The shock of collapsing fiat, the discipline of scarcity, the clarity of purpose, and the boundless horizons of technology. In this moment, you are both torchbearer and trailblazer, writing not just a script to be voiced, but a manifesto to be lived. Go forth. Build with intention. Invest with conviction. Lead with compassion. And together, we will shepherd humanity from the ashes of outdated paradigms into the light of a decentralized tomorrow, block by block, life by life, revolution by revolution.